Hey everyone, welcome to Artesia Pro Presents This is Dedicated. I'm your host, Mike Bedard, and I'm here with Jordan Rudess, incredible keyboardist, tech developer. He's made a massive mark on the music world and continues to change it. So happy to have you.
Thanks, man. Nice to be here.
Yeah. So you're out on tour with Dream Theater right now?
That's what they tell me. Yeah. It's been we've been on our North American leg, the second one actually. Nice. And making some pretty good ground, playing every night. It's amazing that I'm still like sitting here looking, I guess, somewhat normal. It's been a lot of running around, but I guess we get used to it. It's been fun.
And so when you're doing these runs, how long are you going out for each?
Generally, the longest Dream Theater will go for is like about 6 weeks. Sometimes we'll do a little longer. Like this one, I think it's about 6 weeks. Yeah, and then we all feel like, okay, it's time to go home. Take a break and start again. Like now we're doing North America for the second time, covering all the markets that we didn't cover the last time, and then we take a little break and we're going to go down to South America.
Sweet.
And then another little break, and then we have the pleasure of going to Europe in the dead of winter. So I will not be at the NAMM show this year, which is kind of sad, but I will be on a tour bus driving around and playing headlining shows with Dream Theater, which will be fun.
Amazing.
Yeah, and then an Asia-Australia thing to kind of close up the world tour, and that'll probably happen towards the end of May or whatever.
Nice.
For a little while.
Yeah. So in South America, where's your favorite place? What's your favorite country and city?
Yeah. South America is a cool place for Dream Theater. It's very, I don't know, I don't know what's in the water there. Like when you go to Chile, it's like they're so into progressive metal. It's like they think we're like the Beatles or something. They, instead of like just tapping their foot like evenly in 4/4, they tend to do it in 13/8, which is pretty cool. And then like progressive metal guys like me will get recognized on the street. Wow. Which is insane. Yeah. It's just, I don't know what's going on down there. But South America is kind of like its own world when it comes to the way they relate to the music and their passion for it. And so when we go to Brazil, it's really intense. It's great. And Chile and used to be Venezuela, but we can't go there because of political reasons, which is sad. But we're also going to Argentina, which is a good spot for Dream Theater as well. So they're all amazing.
Yeah. Buenos Aires? Or?
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah, Buenos Aires.
Yeah. And so do you feel like there's less of a veil, and that's the reason why? Because I agree with that in South America. Like,
what is it about it that?
Like the less of a veil between like people, the way people are sold music there versus sold music here.
Yeah.
Well, it's like more direct or something.
Well, I think that we're a little bit jaded here.
Sure.
I think for some reason in Europe and South America there's more people who don't only go down the very commercial path. They kind of are more open. They want to hear music. They'll listen to classical music. They'll listen to Dream Theater, things that take a little bit more of an attention span. Sure. It's just a different thing.
Yeah.
It is.
I think it's beautiful. It's in the food. It's in the sun.
Right.
And everything that's going on there. Yeah. And how when you switch gears to go to, say, Europe, what do you? Because there it feels like the fans are incredible, live, but it's a whole different vibe.
It's a different flavor there too. I mean, it depends on what country you're in, but we have hot spots. Like we go to Italy, and that's amazing. We'll go to France, and that's great. We'll go to Eastern Europe and play in Turkey and Poland, and the excitement level is really, really high.
Sure, yeah.
It's one of the interesting things about this band because it's really got a tremendous international following, and to have the opportunity to kind of like interact with all these different energies and feel what the audiences are like. It's like a cultural lesson. Like an example being we go to Japan, and they're really into it. They love Dream Theater, but like before the show, like you won't hear anything. Right. Like I can remember like looking out of the curtain kind of thing and saying, are there any people there? Like, are you guys out there? And of course they're there. And then when you go out, they all get on their feet at the same time and they're all clapping in total, like unison, but they are into it.
Yeah, a whole different form of appreciation, but it's still from the heart.
Oh, it's totally from the heart.
Oops, I just think I just smacked my mic, sorry. It's from the heart.
Can you do it in rhythm?
Sure I can.
How's your 7/8? Excellent. All right, here we go.
And so what's the favorite song off the new album to play live versus recording?
Usually it's hard for me to answer that kind of question because, we put so much energy and just passion into every song.
Sure.
So I don't necessarily have a favorite. But this time I kind of enjoy off our new album, which is Distance Over Time, playing Pale Blue Dot. I don't know
Awesome.
if you've heard that, but it's kind of like our epic track. It's like 9 minutes, and it's very intense, and it's kind of orchestral and big and soaring, and so.
How much expansion live on this tour are you doing with these songs? How much do they open up versus what they were on the album?
Well, we generally play the songs pretty much like the album. And
Sure.
Dream Theater is a band that we try to make it sound like what we recorded,
Verbatim.
and not in a stiff kind of a way.
Right.
I mean, I'll actually, what's interesting is I'll because I have the time to kind of almost rethink it, and now it's going to be a live performance for me instead of just something that I tracked. In some ways, I think it gets kind of like better, like after a chance to think about what I did, like what I want to do. So we certainly have some fun with the tracks, but in general we play it like the album.
Sure. Yeah.
And I try to do all my orchestrations basically in one go. So I'll do all kinds of splits and layers. And
Yeah, I saw some of that.
I'll
Amazing.
have tourist bass pedals in my pinky and a French horn in my thumb and strings and a choir in my fourth and fifth finger and go like that, and it sounds pretty cool.
Wow. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah, you've changed the way that the instruments played. Although I'm sure you wouldn't say that, but you have, no?
Well, I think what I do that's kind of unusual is that I guess maybe it comes from my experience working with manufacturers and repping keyboards many years ago. But I've always kind of been really into the technology and getting the most out of it. Where a lot of people just will buy an instrument and they know, oh, that makes a great bell type sound,
Preset.
and then they'll use that sound. Or this instrument makes a really good piano sound. So, but a lot of these things, especially nowadays, are so capable to do so much that people don't have the focus or the attention to really get out of it what the thing does. But in my case, I kind of had to do that in the old days, but I generally try to focus my energy on one really powerful instrument and use that for the bulk of what I do live. Like these days, I'm using a Korg Kronos, which is a great, instrument. It's amazing. It's first of all an 88 key instrument. It's got the sliders on I needed. It's got all the different types of synthesis. It's got like analog synthesis and FM synthesis and sampling and physical modeling, and I can sample my own sounds, which I do, and put them in there. So my Kronos is loaded with a Jordan world of stuff, and it's just really powerful. And I can focus. And what I do is I use a pedal to it's simple in a way. I use a pedal to bang through my my setups.
Pages?
Just my sounds. So actually, I'm playing along. You don't hear any gaps or any break in the reverb trails or anything like that. And I'm just literally hitting the pedal when I need to, and everything just changes. So I can hold a chord with the, again, the tourist and the French horn and the choir and whatever. And then I'm holding that, I switch sounds, nothing gets interrupted, and I play the next sound, and it's there.
Yeah.
So that's kind of been my thing for a while. Cool. And it's just got to a, developed point, I could say.
Dedicated.
There you go.
Big time.
Dedicated.
It's crazy, and speaks to the way that you guys. I mean, the way I think of it simply is just your composers versus, going out and seeing a group that's like incredible and improvises a ton. You've got these things where it's such a challenge to nail what you've created. It's beautiful, like an orchestra.
That's cool. Yeah, definitely. We're putting on a definite, defined show
I dig it.
of the music that we've created. Yeah.
And so satisfying for the fans too to get I saw Tears for Fears years ago.
Oh, I love that.
And I was like, wow, hit me the exact same point of chills.
Oh, wow.
The album, because it was
so
coming
awesome.
right at me just like it, but
I
it
never
didn't.
saw them live. I wish I did.
Yeah, it didn't feel like it was phoned in. But it sounded just like it.
I think that's the goal, for Dream Theater, to play what we do play on the album, but to have that feeling like, wow, this is like so much even bigger and more powerful because you're seeing our energy on stage, and we're not like just sitting there like playing, the guitar and the keyboard. We're putting energy.
For sure.
We value the entertainment part of it as well.
Nice.
I'll be spinning around on my keyboard and moving this and that. And,
I love it.
Stuff like that.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about Wisdom?
Sure. So I've had this company called Wisdom Music for a while, ever since the first iPhones came out, and I started to run my finger on the surface of it. I started to get some ideas about how you could use multi-touch to create new kinds of methods of expression. So it was about, I don't know, 10, 11 years ago when I created my first software app, which was called MorphWiz. And actually in those days, Billboard had just started something which was the Billboard Music App Awards. And MorphWiz got the first place.
No way.
So it was very exciting. There was a lot of press around it. And the really cool thing about it was that it opened up the business to me. So it allowed me to really get into it and continue working on it and have my work be noticed by a lot of people. Of course, what happened in that business is all of a sudden it started to become much larger, and the big companies started to get involved, and now everybody's making apps. But because I got started early with some very creative, interesting, ideas, it's still a place where I can kind of, I guess, express myself and dedicate my focus and my energies towards making cool stuff happen. So I have a kind of a concept behind anything that I produce in software, which is I like to create things that will have the professional musician kind of open up and think about new possibilities and say, wow, I didn't know that you could do that. So offering tools to the pro, but also the same software should allow people who are not music makers to make music. Right. Because it's really, I think there's something about, everybody can listen to music, but there's something very special about being the creator of it. So, so my latest application is called GeoShred, which is an iOS app, soon to be also available for Mac and various platforms. But it kind of goes with that.
And that's really what came from GeoSynth? Right?
And that's what came from GeoSynth, exactly. Gotcha. GeoSynth was an instrument that used my playing surface concept, but had it was based on samples, basically. GeoShred is a partnership with my friends who I met out of Stanford University, the Karma division. Dr. Julius Smith is a professor there, and he was one of the big creators of physical modeling. So he's a partner in this as well. So GeoShred has this playing surface concept that I put forward, and it has Julius's foundation sound technology, and that's kind of what it is.
How many years or how many months? How long was this being developed before it came out?
Well, GeoShred came out probably around 5 or 6 years ago, and then about 3 years ago now, GeoShred came out, and we've been continuing to develop it. And one of the interesting things about it, beyond what I even mentioned, is that we really got so deep into this project to the point where GeoShred not only plays its own sound in the iOS device, but GeoShred is a very powerful MIDI controller. So it allows you to do these amazing things with pitch, and kind of go between fretless and diatonic modes really, really easily. But you can do it with the GeoShred sound, or you can do it with any sound because you can connect it through MIDI. So it's kind of like this awakening for people when they go, oh my God, that's incredible.
Totally intuitive.
So it just plays really, really, well, and people respond to it.
Wow.
It's also a lot of fun.
Yeah. Can we hear some?
Yeah, definitely. I got my iPad right here.
Awesome.
We'll get it going. All right, so this is GeoShred. So the cool thing is that you could have something like this, where on the playing surface right now, I've got just the notes of the B-flat blues scale, right? So you got... So what's interesting is that it's locking into each note as I go back and forth, but when I stop my finger on a particular note, I can still vibrato. So the concept of being able to lock it like that when you slide, but then still do vibrato, is a little minor musical miracle, because it makes it sound very realistic in terms of... So this way, it's kind of, you could say it's easy. I could show you how to play the blues on this in 20 seconds.
Sure.
Right? If you put it in slide mode, that's where GeoShred starts getting kind of even more magical in a way, because what happens is when your finger lands on one of these key zones, I don't know if our audience can totally see, but I'm showing you. One of the boxes, each one is a different note. When your finger lands on a key, it's perfectly in tune until you start to move your finger, right? And it'll totally track your finger perfectly. So now you can do this fretless kind of deal where you're like...
Wow.
So it's like super Jeff Beck, Steve Vai
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
mode.
yeah,
Imagine
yeah.
like taking the whammy bar. And also because it's a physical model, you can use some of the controllers here to like bring in like feedback. So you can be like, you know. You can start a backing track.
I need a towel, man. I need a towel.
Here we go. And all the notes are of the scale that match the backing track are there. Anyway,
Nice, man.
yeah, so that's
Fire the band, man. Fire the band.
Right,
That's
right.
incredible.
GeoShred.
Yeah, I love
GeoShred
it.
on it.
Jeez.
And one very quick thing about it before we leave this topic is that it's a big hit in India because people are using this as their main instrument because it can provide a drone,
The drone,
but
yeah.
also it'll give you all the ragas like as the definite notes and the sliding. You know, they're all into like, you know.
Sure.
So that ability to go between diatonic and fretless,
Yeah.
like for the Carnatic musicians in
Yeah,
India,
yeah.
they're freaking out.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
they're using this as their main instrument, which is
So
very
cool.
flattering and cool.
And how much of tonight's show, how many times will this be
Yeah.
applied?
Actually, so I use it in the live show a bit. I use like that all-out kind of lead sound, not in a particular scale like that. I
Sure.
use it in, you know, chromatic,
Chromatic,
so I can play any note. But I use also some sounds like this at the beginning of Pale Blue Dot. I'm kind of like using each one of these larger squares, which kind of looks a little bit like that. The notes are bigger in this case. Right?
Is that for more dynamic within what you can do within
So you
that
can
space?
assign each one of these zones for those, you know, MIDI experts out there. Each one of the boxes can have like a particular continuous controller. So in this case, my finger goes down, there's nothing. Imagine each note is like almost like a volume pedal. So it can be like. And then I can.
Wow.
And then what's cool about the model is if I move my finger, I can actually excite the model, so you can get the note to sustain more. So like.
Yeah, pop
And then I use
top
the-
harmonics. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing,
so I use
man.
that.
Amazing
So I use it a
tool.
bunch. Yeah. Really fun.
Really cool. Hey, can I do a super fan question?
You can.
All right.
All right. What is it?
This is from Mike Bittner.
I'm scared.
In El Cajon.
Okay.
And it's about this.
Okay.
What was your inspiration for the GeoShred software, and how do you think it will help young aspiring musicians?
Well, Mike, I wanted to create something that would allow people to have this amazing tool so they could go between diatonic and fretless modes really easily. I wanted to create a controller for anybody so they could use that kind of idea and play any instrument. So all this, you know, advanced sliding and pitch correction, it's possible to use whatever synthesizer that you've got. And I wanted to create an instrument that was offering the ability for anybody to just play music and enjoy and shred and have a great time. So all in one, that was kind of like the inspiration and the idea behind this particular creation.
Awesome. Cool. Awesome. Mike, you win bragging rights.
There you go. Awesome.
That's so cool, man. Wow, I'm blown away by just being able to get any success in the music industry with as difficult as that is,
Right.
or as divine intervention, whatever needs to happen. That chaotic road that everyone
Right,
goes through
right.
in music.
Yes.
That you could hit success in music, and then go jump into the forefront of. If you were doing that around 2010, 2009. That's phenomenal that you got through that mad
It's all
rush
like
of apps.
Yeah. So, so the beauty of it is that you can, take this diatonic and fretless idea and control any instrument, and it becomes very powerful and very, very fun.
Nice. Yeah. Could you talk a little bit about using the Xkey?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think
course
so.
I
But can
can.
you play a little bit? Can you play
Yeah, for sure. The Xkey is a big part of my life, actually. It's I traveled with it all around the world. I think it was in my suitcase pretty much around the world a few times. The beauty of it is that, you know, it has real size keys, although they don't have the full throw, they're still very velocity sensitive. And the software, for anybody who looks at the Xkey software, it's pretty deep. It's amazing. You can like draw curves and stuff like that for the way you want it to respond. You could have it be so that instead, you know, like in addition to every key playing a note, you could have every key send out a different MIDI controller.
Nice.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
And it also does polyphonic aftertouch, which is like amazing. For,
Yeah.
you know, the polyphonic aftertouch thing was this thing, you know, the keyboard world, wow, like, you know, the CS80 did it, and people, you kind of freak out when you tell them it does that.
Right.
And then also the Bluetooth version, which I think this one is, I've done like clinics and even performances where I'll literally be like 50 feet away from my iOS device or my computer and playing, and you don't,
zero latency.
I freak people out. I did a Key Fest where we had, you know, a bunch of keyboard players come to hang out and learn and everything. And I took this out and I had this program called iSymphonic on my iPad. And I was walking around this large room with the Xkey and people were like, what is going on? And everybody who was there bought one.
Wow.
So it's the kind of thing, because of the nature of the way it's constructed and the way that it works. I mean, you can't not want one if you're a keyboard player.
Sure.
So personally, I've been looking forward to, you know, like the evolution of this instrument, because I know it's such a great design and it has so many possibilities, and it's so cool.
Yeah. I got one more big question for me, and that's, I just found out that you used to play with Tony Williams.
Okay, yeah.
And what was that like?
Well, that's kind of an interesting story. So when I was working for Korg many years ago, like 30 years ago or so, I had met Jan Hammer, and Jan Hammer invited me to come and join his band, because Jan only wanted to play the guitar, and he needed somebody to play all the parts, so that was me. So the drummer in the band was this guy, Tony Williams. Now, I wasn't coming from a jazz background at all, really, and so I didn't know who he was.
Wow.
I know that's unbelievable.
When you met him, or when,
I didn't know. Tony Williams, it wasn't part of my...
So cool. I love that, though, that it started at square one.
He was the guy, that was playing drums. So, and there was a bass player whose name was Fernando Saunders as well. So, you know, we did this we did this tour together, playing Jan and Tony's music. So as I was doing it, I was learning from other people who he was, because I'd say to like a drummer or somebody, oh yeah, there's this guy Tony Williams, and then they go, oh, Tony Williams, oh my God, you know, amazing. So I go, why was that amazing? And then they would tell me why it was amazing and what he did, and you know, and
were you getting? I'm sorry. Were you getting that from playing with him? Was it like the juicy, like,
well, you know,
Tony Williams?
He was obviously amazing. It was towards the end of his life, actually.
Yes. Wow.
And I found out from friends that his thing was to be able to like go off and play kind of against the beat, and then finally come back and land on the beat. And I remember with Fernando, we would be trying to hold down the fort, and I'd both be nodding and hoping, praying that it comes back to the right point. So I think I got to see Tony kind of towards the, you know, the later part of his life, when maybe that wasn't quite as dialed in as it was in the old days. But I still, you know, it's still a trip, having heard and, you know, had that experience, then heard about who he was and his background and the influence that he had. I'll tell you one very quick funny story, which is that we were traveling around in mostly planes. Because Jan didn't want to, he would spend the money. He didn't care if he made money on that tour or not. And so anyway, we'd show up at the airport, and I'd be like, you know, in jeans, whatever, casual clothing, and Jan would literally be in shorts and sandals. Tony would come in a three-piece suit. Literally, a three-piece suit to the airport in like the afternoon, like, and I was like, why are you in your three-piece suit? Like, can you tell me? He said, well, he said to me, when I grew up and I was a young musician, 16, 17, he said, first of all, I was black. Second of all, I was underage, and I'm going into these towns, especially in the South. So if I wanted them to let me in and let me play and not, you know, have a lot of trouble, I would have to dress up, because they would, you know, have some respect that way. It would up his chances of not running into trouble in these towns.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And then he's breaking that down to you towards the end of his life. That's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah, totally.
Wow, Jordan, hey, it's
Awesome,
been a
man.
pleasure to meet
Totally.
you.
Oh,
I'm
nice to
so
meet you
impressed,
too.
man.
Oh,
Just
thanks.
you're prolific in every way, and that's
I'm
a
trying. I'm doing my
rarity.
best here.
Yeah, safe travels to you, and
Cool,
I
man.
hope that the tour is a big success. And
Awesome.
blessings, man.
Thanks so much.
Yeah,
Cool.
for sure.
Cool.